You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
And welcome to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show. I am your host, Richard Franzi, and this is podcast episode number 1018. Can you believe it? Over 1,000 of these? We love doing them here on Critical Mass Radio Show. And boy, do we have a good episode for you. If you're listening to us live on octalkradio.net, thank you. If you're watching us on the Facebook live stream, let me wave to you. Hello, and this is Steve. He's our first guest. He's saying hello as well. And if you're listening to us as a podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, thank you for joining the show. We appreciate your continued support. You know, capitalizing on a new trend or technology can be an effective way to ignite growth in your firm. President and CEO Steve Acevedo of Regatta Solutions is enabling businesses' success for a cleaner tomorrow by combining multiple technologies to provide cost-effective solutions for his company. I've invited Steve here today to share how his firm is enabling success for a cleaner tomorrow. Steve, welcome to the program.
Richard, thanks for having me on. I'm real excited to take part in this.
And let me tell you, other fellow business owners and CEOs of middle market companies, Regatta Solutions is an exciting company. I met Steve a while ago through one of our members of our CEO peer groups, and I visited his facility, and he explained his business model, and I've been excited to have you on the show since we had that meeting earlier this year.
Thank you very much.
But before we talk about your business model and how you use technology to ignite growth, can you start with maybe an interesting story about you as a business person, something that gives us a sense for your background and your past?
Well, you know what? I think I have to kind of start going like way back when I was an intern at a program for University of Southern California in Washington, D.C., and I chased the IBM public affairs director outside of the building, which was across the street from the old executive office building, for a sales job.
Okay.
And I told him I wanted to be a salesman at IBM. And that really sort of launched my career into technology and complex sales.
Why did you want to go to work for IBM so badly?
You know, it was at that time, it was an incredible education
good training
process. The training program was exceptional. And, you know, I learned a lot over those 5 years that I was there.
Mm-hmm. Back east, or were you out here?
Well, you know what was funny is he was an executive level guy, and I think we built an immediate rapport.
Good.
And he asked me, he said, you know, where do you want to work? And I was like, well, I just want a job. I was the quintessential starving student at the time,
okay.
And I just needed a job. And he said, well, you know, let's see what we can do to get you some job interviews out on the West Coast, which is where I was from.
Wow, so. That's awesome. It's a little bit of hustle. Okay, so if our producer and engineer is ready with the gong, boy, our loyal listeners know, Steve, that whenever they hear the gong, if they're listening to us on the podcast, to click it back about 30 seconds, maybe in this case you want to go back maybe a minute, and re-listen to the story because there was a very teachable moment. So right out of the gate, first question. Doesn't usually happen here on Critical Mass Radio Show. We usually get a gong, but not that early. So thank you very much for being gong-worthy here on Critical Mass Radio Show.
Well, it's always about hustle. You got to take advantage of the opportunities when they're there.
Right, and create some of them yourself too, right? Being brave enough to suffer the embarrassment maybe of him not responding positively to your effort, right?
Absolutely.
But you got to put that behind you and make it happen. All right, you're still doing that today, which is why I wanted you on the show. So let's turn our focus away from you to the company. Tell us a little bit, you know, generally speaking, because you're talking to peer business owners across the country, what is it that Regatta Solutions does?
We're an energy solutions provider. First off, we focus on a concept which is called cogeneration. And then we implement other technologies around our cogeneration solution. So that may be energy storage and or solar. And we happen to distribute a company called Capstone Microturbines product out on the West Coast. And we've been very successful and have had a good valued partnership with them.
Right, and you've shown me some videos and how this works. But before we get to Capstone, we're going to talk about that maybe in the next block. But right now, define cogeneration in just a few words.
Well, it's essentially we bring multiple energy sources in essence in one unit. So the microturbine is in essence a jet engine. It's wrapped around power generation equipment. So we generate electricity, but the real key focus is the exhaust energy that's developed.
Right, which is a waste product.
It's a waste product, and we reuse it, and that's
Awesome.
where the economics and the payback come in.
Okay, and who are your clients? Like, who buys cogeneration products?
Commercial, industrial, government facilities, universities, schools, breweries, winemakers.
Okay. Yeah, because if I remember correctly, Steve, they come in a range of sizes, right? I mean, this isn't. People may not have the right mind's eye of what it is, your cogeneration and your capstone system. How big are they?
Well, we start as low as a 65 kilowatt system, which in essence may also heat a Olympic-sized pool for let's say for a community college.
Okay.
To a megawatt system, which will produce enough steam to produce brewery for, let's say, a brewery like Sierra Nevada up in Chico, California.
Is that really is that a client? Is that
and that is one of our clients.
There you go. Nice. That's it's a good product too. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Critical Mass Radio Show. We're talking to the president and CEO of Regatta Solutions, Steve Acevedo. How did you get into this area?
It was actually kind of a funny story. We started Regatta really to be an IT consulting company, actually to provide cloud computing and outsourcing services over 10 years ago. And happened to have met the senior VP for Capstone at a religious retreat outing for my daughters during my daughter's senior year in high school.
Wow. And
I was chaperoning, and this gentleman was chaperoning, and we were both waking up at 5:30 in the morning, and we got together, and he offered me a particular product line that was related to data centers. And we set off the course, and from that it sort of grew our relationship with them. And today they're one of their lead distributors out on the West Coast.
So that's interesting. That's the second time in less than 10 minutes you've talked about kind of a way that an individual in your life enabled the next phase of your career or something.
Absolutely.
That's another teachable moment here on Critical Mass Radio Show. So I'd like to ask about unintended consequences. It's my latest book. It's going to be out later this year, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Killing Cats Leads to Rats, and I'm fascinated by how many of us have experienced unintended consequences of our strategic business decisions. Can you think of a time where you laid out a plan and you were going to get this result, and you got something that was different?
Well, just going back to the story, I just took you through, which is, the inception of Regatta Solutions was really to do IT consulting, and here we are as an energy solutions provider, where we believe we've done probably the most combined heat and power projects in California over the 9 years that
Wow.
we've been in business. So really sort of a true success story, but we didn't set out on that course. Going back to even to my previous business that I started, Cornerstone Systems, we set off to be a maintenance services provider for major data centers, and we became actually one of IBM's larger business partners, actually their first business partner to sell mainframe computers. We established a business that sold them throughout the United States and Canada.
Wow.
Puerto Rico and Hawaii.
Wow.
So again, I kind of call it. You may call it your herding cats.
Yes.
Scenario. I call it jumping in the pool.
Okay.
And you're in there swimming, and you grab a life raft, which is you're listening to the market.
Yes.
And you're listening to what the clients are requiring out there. And as long as you're playing in that field, you get an opportunity in front of you, and then you have to seize it.
Yeah, that's exciting, because that's part of a business owner, entrepreneur's life, isn't it? These pivots that you make throughout the career of your company. It may start out as one entity, but over its life, it may move in a very different direction. And I'm wondering, the space that you're in, is it a missionary sale, and as far as explaining to people what you can do for them, or is there an awareness in the marketplace of the kind of cogeneration products, and they're seeking you out?
It's very missionary. although the concept's been around for many years, but it's a set of applications that aren't necessarily used on a broad basis, which is one of the reasons we have deployed really our consultative selling strategy, where we can go into a client, do a lot of analysis, and compare other technologies. For example, solar, energy storage with our cogeneration solutions, and we're able to give the client, in essence, choices. And through those choices, it's sort of plain to see where the best return on investment is related to what we're trying to do for them.
Right, because you have a menu of options, and this I've had others on the radio show, excuse me, who've talked about the storage aspect and how that is really now for businesses starting to gain traction and momentum, as that there's a stronger and stronger ROI of not just creating the electricity with a solar system, but keeping it on premise and using it throughout the day or in the evening or something. So you offer that as well then?
We do.
Wow, it's a complete solution then.
We do.
All right.
Yeah.
Exciting. Well, we're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere, because this is, loyal listeners, you know this is really quick. It's just one quick message about one of the products or services that I offer. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you, Steve, if you could share your guiding principle. In other words, the philosophy that you're using to lead and grow Regatta Solutions. Is that good?
Absolutely. Would love to do that.
All right, then don't go anywhere. We'll be back in less than a minute after this word from me.
Richard Franzi is the author of 2 popular business books for CEOs. His first book, Critical Mass, The 10 Explosive Powers of CEO Peer Groups, was the first book ever written on the secret value of CEO peer groups. His second book, now with newly updated information, is Critical Mass, The Power of CEO Guiding Principles. Richard's books contain powerful information to help CEOs running middle market companies gain valuable insight to improve their decision-making skills. Richard's books are available as paperbacks or Kindle versions from Amazon.com. To find them, type Richard Franzi in the search box.
And welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show. I am your host, Richard Franzi, and all of our shows can be heard anytime on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker.com. Hundreds of former guest websites whose CEOs have put their show on their website. And since we started the show in 2009, our show has reached hundreds of thousands of listeners through the live stream, the podcasts, the video live stream that we now have on Facebook. We have a variety of ways for people to find the content. If you'd like to be a regular subscriber and get our weekly newsletter, simply put your name in Critical Mass Radio Show's website, and we'll automatically enroll you in our newsletter. We do nothing else with your email other than give you our weekly newsletter that talks about great guests like Steve Acevedo, who is the president and CEO of Regatta Solutions. Before the break, Steve, I was going to ask you to talk about your guiding principle. Can you share that with our audience, please?
Yeah, I sure can. It's really, there's 3 categories. First one is the client. Second one is the business, and then the third essentially is the employees. And in each one of those, we're seeking success. On the client, it's all about valuing the client and really trying to become, in essence, the trusted advisor for that client, with a focus on driving quality products that work there. So that's important. And then valuing that relationship, because that relationship can take you many different places. Given what we have always sold, which is very complex solutions, you spend a lot of time earning the right to do business with that client. And the last thing that you want to do is really damage that relationship, because that relationship can lead to references, and of course additional business and other product lines that the company may end up developing over time.
Nothing to interrupt you. I was going to ask you that. Do people lease or buy these solutions from you?
They do both.
Okay.
Yeah, they do both.
And So there is follow-on opportunity. Maybe they upgrade or they have other sites and.
Yeah, in the particular sale that we do today, it's typically other sites and locations.
Okay.
That will go ahead and deploy the technology.
Right. They may try it in one location.
Correct.
Test it out, make sure they got the ROI. And then they get so excited about the ROI, they want you to put them in other locations.
Yeah. And then the next item is the business, and really what we try to teach, and these three areas are really sort of fundamental for me in terms of how I develop a culture within the team and the company.
Okay.
And so from a business standpoint, it's really all about making sure that the employees know that their actions need to contribute to the health of the business. Because if we're not profitable, then we can't serve our customers. And we can't do that. Then the other key is really to go focus on key valued partnerships. The last thing we want to do is represent somebody's product that potentially damages the reputation of our company.
Okay.
So that's really important. So seek out quality partnerships in that process. And then secondarily, go drive essentially incredible service to dazzle clients, because that's really important. And those elements really help the business stay afloat and stay healthy in essence.
So how do you, in this day and age when clients are so used to a high level of service from many, how do you dazzle them?
Well, we've done a couple of things. We've developed essentially some IP products. So we actually have an energy management system that we developed that we've deployed across the fleet of units that we support and service. And the key reason was, number one, we wanted to give visibility to the client on their energy cost savings that they were receiving from the investment. So that was key, so that we can develop testimonials, et cetera.
Right.
And then the second item was the fact that we have a alert sort of call home feature, so that when the systems have faults, our services team can react to them quickly, even before the client knows about it, so we can be Johnny on the spot. And the whole focus there is really sort of selling a good night's sleep to our clients, because it's all about reliability, availability, and serviceability when we're selling our products.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for that answer. I wanted to.
There's a third one.
There is?
The employees.
I thought I had heard that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So you have the client, you have the business, and then now you have the employees. And very quick, it's look, celebrate success, invest in the employees, because they're really the family. And incent teamwork and incent innovation. And those are the things that keep us spry in the marketplace and keep us competitive.
Well, I'm glad that I didn't run over you totally there. Sorry about that. But employees, because to me, they're they are the longest term stakeholders many times for a company. Some of them can be with you for their entire career, if that makes sense for you and for them. Rarely do you see a supplier that's with you for that long, and even some customers tend to come and go. So having a focus on your employee population, I think, is a right thing to do. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. We teased about it. We talked about Capstone at the open and their micro turbine. I wonder if you could just help the audience to understand a little bit more about this product and its innovation and how it's serving your clients' needs.
Well, it's first of all, it's a real success story. Capstone's headquartered here in Southern California, in Los Angeles, Chatsworth. So they manufacture the product here. It's a U.S.-made product. They export about close to 65-70%, as I recall the latest numbers, internationally, and it's a high technology product. So it's not raw materials that we're exporting. It's real high tech stuff. And we have been very successful in deploying that technology and integrating it in to commercial, industrial, pharmaceuticals, breweries, wineries, etc., all in an effort to produce clean power. So from an emission standpoint, we're considered best available control technology. So permitting is not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, of going through the air quality management districts. And they've actually been, it's been a much easier process to go through.
Okay.
And then from an interconnect standpoint, we're really ready to plug and play into the utility, and the utilities recognize that. So we have all the conforming technologies on board that allow for a quick interconnect process to go through.
And so the question is, what type of, you mentioned some brands and type, but if there's a business owner out there listening, what type of business suits this application the best? You know what I mean?
So it's a business that's using a lot of heat. So if you've got using a lot of steam in your manufacturing process, if you're using a lot of hot water in your manufacturing process, those are great candidates to bring in a cogeneration solution to implement, to reduce your energy costs, improve efficiencies, et cetera. In the oil and gas space, we burn their stranded gas, so instead of them having to flare it, they can burn it in our units in a much more efficient manner. So it's really a clean emitter, and the byproduct is really the electricity. So when we go chase a deal, we're really looking at heat loads, and that includes cooling as well. So if you have a building where you're looking to put in an HVAC system, and you need significant tonnage, 20 tons of cooling and above, you're probably a candidate potentially for a microturbine if you're going to essentially be in that building a long time. So there's a couple of key ideal client characteristics that we find are important, and these are certainly two that are common across all of our clients. And they are one is the clients know they're going to be in business for 20 years.
Okay.
And they know that they're going to be in that location for 20 years.
Okay.
So it's not like, hey, we're moving out of California, we're going somewhere else. The second one is they have sustainability as part of their marketing plan. And so it's part of the messaging that they want. They want to let the world know by deploying the technology that we sell in our company that they're doing something clean, and they're tying that into their marketing.
Excellent. All right. Well, that was a very good explanation. And if anybody out there fits that model, I'm going to ask Steve now, how do people find your company online?
Regatta, SP for smartpower.com. And Regatta, that's like the boat race, REGATTA, SP.com.
Well, thank you for spending time with our audience today, sharing a little bit about the firm and your personal philosophies. I've enjoyed this conversation, and thanks for being a friend of the program and a part of the Critical Mass community, Steve.
Richard, thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank our engineer for today, who is none other than Paul Roberts. Our producers are Crystal Nunley, Joan Park, and Haley Stern. I'm your host, Richard Franzi. If you'd like to learn more about this radio show or the CEO peer groups that I lead, then visit my company's website, criticalmass4business.com. Until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions moves your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Feel like to lose everything: your job, your home, your family, your dignity. This has happened